first on the calendar than back in 1992. We had our first Catalan Grand Prix here in 1996. A track built in 1991. The start-finish rate was the host for the team time trial in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics. 4.66 kilometres in length, 2.89 miles, 14 corners, 8 right, 6 left. A long start-finish straight where the MotoGP bikes will be nudging close to 360 kilometres an hour. 1,047 metres is the start-finish straight, which leads into a very heavy braking zone. Turn 1, Turn 4 and Turn 10 really do demand the front end here in Barcelona. Overtaking hot spots, well, plenty of them, 1, 4, 5 and 10. And this was a flashback to 2024. Sete Gibernau leading the Grand Prix. Marquez on the inside of Martin into the first corner. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were in Hungary for the first time since 1992. And hungry for more success in 2025 was runaway world championship leader Marc Marquez. Marco bet second, the factory pretty made the early running. It was Marc Marquez who bided his time, played the patient waiting game before there was this attack at the midway point of the Grand Prix. Betseki tried his best to resist, but once again, resistance futile in the face of a Marc Marquez onslaught. Pedro Acosta, after his qualifying dramas at Balaton Park, fought his way through to get another podium as KTM's resurgence continues. But for the 7th successive race, Marc Marquez tied up the double victory, which sees him 175 points clear of brother Alex coming into this chapter 15 of the campaign so far. It has already been a memorable, a brilliant and record-breaking sprint Saturday so far here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. We had a record-breaking lap time, a first ever 1:37 from Fabio Quartararo in this morning's Q1 session. Quartararo capitalising on that excellent pace to find himself on the front row of the grid, where the Flying Frenchman splits the Marquez siblings. And for just the second time in his MotoGP career, in his backyard in many respects here in Barcelona, his first pole position in 50 since his previous only pole in MotoGP at the Termas 3 Hondo circuit in Argentina, right at the start of 2023. Gresini Racing's Alex Marquez will fire away from the front of the grid. Of course, Alex desperately trying to make sure the Prosecco remains on ice for at least a couple more rounds, because Marc Marquez knows coming into this chapter 15, if he outscores Alex by 10 points, somewhat remarkably, it would mean Marc would go into next weekend's Misano Grand Prix on Italy's Adriatic coast with his first match point to clinch that elusive 7th MotoGP world title. It's inevitable, isn't it, really, that Marc's going to get the job done. He will be world champion in MotoGP for the first time since 2019. But he's got it all on this afternoon and in tomorrow's main Grand Prix, over 24 laps to fend off his brother Alex, who did say yesterday that this was the circuit where it was possibly one of his better chances of the season to get the better of Marc. Well, that plan has been executed to perfection so far. Alex delivering a show-stopping lap time in that record-breaking historic Q2 this morning, a 1:37.536. Which was 0.6 of a second inside of Brad Binder's previous all-time lap record set when the South African topped the timesheets yesterday afternoon. So it's Alex that will lead the field away. It wasn't even really close in Q2 this morning. He was over a quarter of a second clear of Quartararo. Another 10th.5 clear then ahead of Marc. Drama for some of our stars in MotoGP further down the field. Jorge Martin, 17th on the grid, his lowest ever, 18th rather on the grid, his lowest ever qualifying in MotoGP. And what about Pecco Bagnaia and the factory Ducati, winner of both of our Barcelona battles here in 2024? Well, Bagnaia finds himself marooned down in 21st place. He's having a nightmare here, is the Italian Vignales, Salvador Chantra behind him. Matt Burt, Lewis Stinneby in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. fast, flowing in nature, Lewis. We know that this is a track that Alex Marquez has excelled at in the past. His Ducati GP24 was right here last November in the post-season test, which he dominated and was fastest. And clearly in the 12-lap sprint coming up in what, about 25 minutes time, Alex is the rider to beat.
Yeah, sometimes when Marc Marquez tells us that perhaps he's going to be under pressure in a weekend, or he might not have it quite so easy to win, we sort of raise our eyebrows and think, oh yeah, Marc's trying to play down expectations. But he told us yesterday Alex Marquez was the favourite, and he was proven exactly right today, as Alex took that first pole position since the beginning of 2023, round 2 of 2023 in Argentina, when Alex Marquez took his first and, until today, only MotoGP pole. Of course, this, his first dry weather pole position. Marquez starts as favourite, but for once, the favourite may well be named Alex.
Fifth rider on pole position this year for Alex, 16th MotoGP front row start. Now another rider who used to know his way very well around this circuit to Barcelona, Catalan is Sete Gibernau. I'm delighted to say Sete joins Jack now down in pit lane.
Yeah, he does indeed, under the searing Spanish sunshine. Wow, it's really got hot since I was last with you for qualifying earlier. Even Sete can feel the heat down here. Firstly, great to see you. I think we could be in for quite the race here. For the first time in a very long time, Marc looks vulnerable.
Well, I don't know if I would be that brave to say that. I don't know. That makes it. It's gonna make some difference. I think the difference is gonna be Alex now believes a lot in himself mentally, and this track is most probably. I was talking to the team, and they said this is most probably the track he's waiting for the whole year, and he's coming from some not of the best results, so he's gonna be pushing hard. That's gonna make an interesting race, also in the fact that Marc, if he's just capable of being just there, maybe Alex feels the pressure too. You know, the pressure is absolutely on Alex, and that's going to make it interesting. So we'll see. I would never say Marc is out of the game. You know, I wouldn't be that brave, and I think it's going to be a nice, interesting mental battle.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's the best opportunity that someone has had for a long time. Another rider we can't discount is Pedro Acosta. He's really started to find his rhythm of late. The KTM has taken a clear step. I'm sure that he's going to be desperately motivated to try and get that first win of the year.
If I had to say something, not knowing a lot, of course, but from the outside, from what I've seen, maybe the KTM, when looking at qualify and practice sessions, maybe for the sprint they'll be maybe being able to go all the way with the guys, but I don't see that happening so much on the long for tomorrow, for the long race, because the tire looks from the outside. Of course, I'm no one. I just look from the outside, but it looks like it's going to be hard for them to go all the way in the race with the KTM, but you never know. That's something I've seen from the outside, that it could not happen. So if they want to have the chance, most probably in KTM, today's the day. They want to get the big result, so they're going to be pushing hard for that, for sure.
Sete, always great to see you in chat. Enjoy the race.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. You take care.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack, and thanks to Sete Gibernau, who certainly is not a no one when it comes to MotoGP. One of the few riders down the years that was able to give Valentino Rossi more than a few headaches, wasn't he, in the past? So yeah, as Sete said, he spoke to the Gresini racing team. They identified this weekend. Alex told the team that he felt that this weekend was going to be a real big chance. He's the only rider, of course, in 2025 that has defeated Marc in a sprint so far this season. That was at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Apart from that, sprint Saturdays have been the domain of 93. 13 wins in the opening 14 rounds. He really has cashed in big style, hasn't he? The 32-year-old Spaniard on Saturdays. What is it? I've jotted it down somewhere. He's up to 455 points now, is Marc. That's only 12 less than Bagnaia won the championship with in 2023. He's only 53 shy with, what, 8.5, 9 rounds remaining, short of Jorge Martin's point scoring tally last year. It's been an incredible 2025 for Mark, but I think we're going to have to see him work hard if he is to make it 14 sprint wins out of 15 over this 12-lapper.
He's averaging 32.5 points a weekend in 2025. There are only 37 available on every weekend. That's the level that this man has been operating at. But yeah, it's fair to say that the level he's been operating at this weekend is a level below Alex Marquez through the weekend. So yeah, Marc Marquez, I guess he's going to be faced with a bit of a conundrum, isn't he, mentally in this sprint? If he gets into a position where he's behind Alex Marquez, does he risk trying to chase Alex, or does he just say 9 points for second place will do me just fine? He has kept the same approach throughout 2025. He wins when he knows he can, and when he knows he can't, he maximises the points that are on offer. In fairness, he's not been put in that position many times this season. So will Mark go all in, or will he just think of the bigger picture?
Well, I guess he can sort of take the extra risk if he wants to, with a massive 175-point lead in the World Championship. Alex Marquez needs to study the ship somewhat. He's lost 92 points to Mark in the last 3 rounds. Of course, it all started to unravel really for Alex when he had that nasty crash with Pedro Acosta in Assen, which left him with that fracture in his left hand. We just saw there then Pecco Bagnaia. Can we offer any crumbs of comfort right now to the under the siege number 63, 21st on the grid? Bagnaia, only the second time in 121 MotoGP starts that he finds himself outside of the top 20. The only time he started in MotoGP lower was Portimao in 2022, but of course on that occasion he didn't even register a time in Q1 because he crashed in rain conditions. So in a qualifying session in MotoGP, which Pecco Bagnaia has actually notched a lap time, this by far head and shoulders his worst. 23rd and 21st yesterday, 17th this morning, 21st on the grid. Lewis, it's getting harder and harder to watch what's going on right now on that side of the factory Ducati garage. Yeah,
so sad to see a rider who has been so good over so many years now in the red of factory Ducati at such a low ebb in his MotoGP career. Well, he said it's going to take a miracle to get through Q1. He was proven correct. He was nowhere near getting through. A 38.5 was over half a second away from qualifying 2 earlier on today. I don't know what the next thing up from a miracle is, but it's going to take one of those for him to score any points in this sprint, and you fear score any tomorrow either. This is a weekend that Pecco Bagnaia, even before the sprint has got underway, will be quite happy to see the end of.
First time then in 50 Grand Prix, Alex Marquez comes to pole position, and he did it in some style, didn't he, this morning? That 137.536 was absolutely phenomenal. Clear where Alex is making his time. The last couple of corners, sector 4, he's been untouchable all weekend. Those downhill right-handers, turn 13 and 14, clearly where Mark has earmarked Alex as being the strongest so far this weekend. Now, Pedro Acosta led FP1 yesterday. The replicating factory racing team had a 1-2 with Binder and Acosta at the end of practice yesterday. And he's got great race pace, no doubt about that, has Acosta. What can he do from 5th on the grid? Well, let's get the thoughts of his crew chief, Paul Trebath, who's with Jack.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to find out as well. A great day yesterday. Pedro looks really strong under rhythm as well. What can he do today, Paul?
Yeah, mate, it's the million-dollar question as always, but to be honest, we put another really solid weekend together. Get through that first tricky chicane here after the start, a good start, and then everything's to play for, you know. We've got a couple of areas we still wanted to work on, and we've seemed to have got better in those as the weekend's gone on, and now we just got to put it all together.
We know it's going to be a real tyre management race tomorrow. Even in the sprint, in these temperatures, are you going to have to look after that rear?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the soft has, or even the medium, you've got to manage both tyres, you know, and you can't go full noise the whole race. There's no way.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah, tyre management certainly will be prevalent in the 24-lap Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon. Pedro Acosta, though, has found his golden touch once again. 2 podiums in the last 3 sprints, 2 podiums in the last 3 Grand Prix, has seen him soar now up to 5th place in the World Championship. by far the leading light for the factory KTMs.
Here's the grid then. Alex Marquez, Fabio Quartararo and Marc Marquez on the front row. Alex Marquez's first pole since the second round of 2023. Frankie Morbidelli, Pedro Acosta and Fabio Di Gianantonio, two VR46 and a KTM on row 2. Zarco, Agura and Bastianini on row 3. Agura the top Aprilia. Luca Marini 10th from Brad Binder, who was quickest yesterday, and Marco Bezzecchi in 12th. Fermin Aldeguer was just thousandths away from getting through out of Q1, but he starts 13th ahead of Jack Miller and Raul Fernandez. Miguel Oliveira, Joan Mir and Jorge Martina Carrillo 18th. Aleix Espargaro 19th ahead of Alex Rins and Pecco Bagnaia. That smile on the graphic most certainly not on his face in 21st. Maverick Vinales 22nd from Lorenzo Savadori and Somkya Chantra, and certainly the evidence of the graphics at this stage would indicate that every rider is going medium soft for the sprint.
Just a little bit of housekeeping to bring you as well. It does involve former world champion Joan Mir. He's going to get a 3-place grid penalty for the Grand Prix here tomorrow. Slow riding at turn 5 in Q1. We'll see Mir drop from 17th to 20th. Despite that penalty, he'll still start ahead of Bagnaia. It just shows how big the issues have been for Bagnaia. Let's go back down to Jack on the grid.
Yeah, I've got Pablo Nieto with me, 2 riders on the second row of the grid. Of course, last time we went racing on Sprint Saturday, Pablo, we had 2 bikes on the podium. More of the same today?
I wish it's going to be the same, no? But I think we have a very good chance. We have to try to make our best. Of course, here it's going to be very, very hard, but like every Saturday and Sunday. It was also hard for Dija because he passed from Q1 to Q2. But anyway, we will see what happens on the race.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Pablo Nieto. Yeah, there'll be high hopes for VR46 racing. Morbidelli 4th, Di Gianantonio 6th. He had to do it the hard way, didn't he, as well, did you? Second to Quartararo in that record-breaking Q1 session. Pecco Bagnaia. It's a heck of a long walk, isn't it, back to 21st place on the grid for a rider who won the sprint and the Grand Prix on our most recent visit here, the Solidarity Grand Prix back in mid-November of 2024. Been a poor weekend as well by Marco Bezzecchi's recently exceptional high standard. Slowest rider in this morning's Q2 session was Bez, worst qualifying in 7 since Aragon. There are the medals, gold, silver and bronze. That's the prizes awaiting our top 3 at the end of this 12-lap sprint. Yeah, surprised me, I guess, to see Bez almost 9/10 of a second as well away from pole, given his recent Grand Prix form. 4 podiums in the last 5, 3 in a row on Sundays for the first time in his MotoGP career. And as Lewis just touched upon when we saw the grid, Agura is the top Aprilia qualifier, the Moto2 world champion from last year. Only the 3rd time we're seeing Agura start inside the top 10 this year.
Yeah, of course, in those 5 Grand Prix you mentioned, only Marc Marquez has scored more points than Marco Bezzecchi. Of course, Marc Marquez has scored a lot, but Marco Bezzecchi has scored 103 points in that period, 23 more than anybody else not named Marc Marquez. But he's certainly going to have to be busy on the opening lap in the sprint to get himself into the points. Points down to 9th place, of course, and of course repeat this tomorrow when we go racing over double the distance, over 24 laps tomorrow. But this is one of the turn 1s on the Grand Prix calendar that fills the MotoGP grid with the most trepidation. It's one of the longest runs down into one of the heaviest braking zones, down all the way from around 350 kilometers an hour when you are carrying full speed. Of course, they won't be finding quite as quick as that off the start line from a standing start, but down to around 95 k's into turn 1. We see chaos into that first corner more often than we don't.
Yeah, Bezzecchi's recent upturn in fortunes alongside Bagnaia's massive downturn in fortunes means it's game on really in the fight for 3rd in this World Championship. Just 31 points splitting the 2 Italians. Well, it's been plain sailing for much of 2025 for Marc Marquez, 175 points clear in the championship. It's been anything but plain sailing throughout this weekend for Pecco Bagnaia, a career worst qualifying in MotoGP. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, Davide Tardozzi, with Jack.
Yeah, he is. He just receives a handshake from Gunter Steiner, who we will be speaking to on the grid tomorrow. Down here on row 7 of the grid, it's not where we expect to see Pecco Davide. It's been a disastrous weekend so far. Mentally, how does he approach this?
Yeah, that's the main. I mean, we are trying to keep health the brain attitude that we think that is one part of the small disaster. On the technical side, we are trying hardly to help him, but you know, everything much follow the same way. And the only thing that I'm happy is that Ducati, Pecco, we are all in line, we are all aboard. We was happy when we won, we are unhappy altogether when we face this kind of problem, but I think that he will manage it sooner or later.
Have you made big changes again for this, or are you just trying to get Pecco right first?
No. Now it's time to keep the bike almost like it is, and to keep confidence with this kind of bike and with this setup.
And just finally, we have to touch on Marc. It looks as though this is as vulnerable as he's looked for a long time. Is the streak going to end here?
Yeah, but you know, Marc is Marc and he's doing an incredible season, but we have to win the championship, not every race. So in the end, I think that today Alex shows that he's the faster, and maybe he will gain the race. He has a Ducati, so we are very happy. We really think that Marc can be on the podium, and that's it.
Thanks, Davide.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Ducati Lenovo team boss Davide Tardozzi. Yeah, he's done serial winning, hasn't he, so far this year? Marc, 23 out of 28 races have gone the way of number 93 so far. Is he going to get somebody else have a crack at the front here today? Alex, no question, is this big pre-sprint favourite. The 93 and 73, well, they're backed by thousands and thousands of Catalan fans who've come to see their home heroes. What can Fabio Quartararo do? Can he maybe be the fly in the ointment? Can he gate crash the Marquez party? Second on the grid is Quartararo. He was superb this morning. Fastest with the first ever 137 lap around this Barcelona circuit to get himself through Q1, and then he took full advantage to fire himself up onto that front row in second place. Let's keep an eye on Fabio. 48th front row start in MotoGP for him.
Penny for those thoughts as Pecco Bagnaia sits on the grid. I do wonder whether he'll almost approach this sprint as something of a public test session, really. I mean, what else can he do? I mean, the team, as we've heard there from Davide Tardozzi, have decided not to do what they did in Hungary, which is throw a bit of a radical setting at the bike to try and give him the feeling which he thought he'd found in Hungary. He was very positive. This time, though, it's more Pecco that needs to make the big reset.
Yeah, the only three riders behind him, Maverick Vinales, who said himself he's riding with one arm as he recovers with that left shoulder. Of course, Sonkat Chantra back for the first time in 4 rounds since Assen, and Lorenzo Savadori, the Aprilia test rider. Let's go down the grid, though. It's been a super Saturday so far for Alex Marquez in Gravina Racing. Can he get the job done over 12? That's Michele Massini, the boss. He's waiting to talk to Jack.
Yeah, I think you would have to say, Alex, that the man to beat in this one. He's looked super quick all weekend, in particular this morning. Confidence, Michele?
Yeah, more, and I think that we are back to our real potential, even better in the time attack, I would say, because was definitely flying in the sector 4, but we will see. The pace is there, so we have all the ingredients to make a good sprint and also a good race of tomorrow.
For so long we've seen Marc versus Alex in the sprints. Is there anybody else that you think could potentially spoil the party?
I think that also Pedro, for me, will be fighting for the top position, but so we will see. As you know, we have to make a perfect start, a perfect turn 1-2, and then try to take some gap from the rider behind, but we will try.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Michele Massini. Nail on head. All the ingredients are there for Alex to get the job done over these 12 laps in this Tissot sprint. He's had 13 sprint podiums previously, Alex. 3 victories. The last of those was at Silverstone, the only time that 93 has been headed so far on Sprint Saturdays this year. In go the earplugs. Time to block out the noise. Time to get himself fully focused and ready to try and conquer Marc in Catalonia. Not been an easy task throughout 2025 on Sprint Saturdays.
It's been a nigh on impossible task, with the exception, as you say, of Silverstone. Speaking of noise, of course, we heard Paul Gibatten saying that Pedro Acosta and everybody else can't go full noise in this sprint. As Davide Tardozzi with some final words of encouragement to Pecco Bagnaia. Just anything that he can grasp onto and just cling onto as some sort of positive from this Saturday sprint will do for Pecco Bagnaia. Every time we think it can't get worse, it does. Can he finally start the long road back to recovery today?
Last November, Bagnaia cleaned up. Pole position, sprint win and Grand Prix win here in Barcelona. Fast forward to September 2025 and it has been a spectacular fall from grace. Will next weekend in Misano offer him any kind of home hope as he tries to arrest what's been a shocking recent slide? One Grand Prix win so far this season without a sprint win at all in 2025. You've got to go all the way back to Mugello since the last time he was on a sprint podium for Bagnaia. So yeah, these are tough times. He keeps telling the media, he keeps telling his team that he's digging deep to try and find himself out of this massive hole. Problem he's got as well, though, is his teammate on the opposite side of the garage is just cruising to that 7th MotoGP world title. Can he take another giant leap towards glory? Of course, just a quick reminder, it's been a number that's been on the forefront of most people's minds. 10 is the magic number here this weekend for Marc Marquez. 10 points more than Alex here over the Sprint and Grand Prix. Well, it could be a mission accomplished next time out at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli. Always felt like it's been all eyes on Alex to make sure that we have to wait possibly until the Japanese Grand Prix at the mobility resort Motegi before Mark is crowned world champion. He racked up a whole bunch of Premier Class world titles in Motegi, didn't he, when he was a Honda rider back in the day?
Of course, over the last week or so, Marc Marquez has been at pains to point out that he doesn't really want to have a match point or to clinch the World Championship in Misano next weekend, because it would mean something has gone seriously wrong for his brother Alex Marquez. Not a lot has gone wrong for Alex Marquez through this weekend so far.
No, it certainly hasn't. Third fastest yesterday afternoon, and the weekend has just got better and better. Second quickest this morning, and that trend of improvement continued when he qualified first in Q.